back live Daytona International Speedway after today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. The incident coming of the checkered flag that resulted in parts of Kyle Larson's car piercing the catch fencing, winding up on the grandstand side of the racetrack. You see all the safety vehicles and safety workers that are there managing the situation. We await word from NASCAR and or Speedway officials, but obviously at the moment a very fluid situation, and their attention rightly focused on treating those who may need treatment and getting a grip on the situation. And we will hear from them as soon as possible and let you know what we know as quickly as we can. Difficult end to what had been a tremendous race, with drivers trading the lead 34 different times, 20 different drivers leading the race.
The engine's going to go
finding some way to draft through at the end and win
out of the grandstand.
Again. But all of that overshadowed by this scene when that 32 car was forced up into the air and into that fencing, which somehow grabbed a hold of a piece of that car, and as it sheared off, brought it through the safety cabling, the safety fencing, and all that's there.
I will bring up one thing. We saw Tony Stewart go below the yellow line as that wreck was happening in front of him. And he did get the win. They didn't penalize him. He was just avoiding that accident. That's why they didn't.
So Tony continuing the obligations that go with winning the race. Though speaking very eloquently in victory lane. Tony, of course, not just a racer, but a track operator as well, and a race fan. And he sees all sides of this and all concerned at the moment, focused on the grandstand side of the situation and hoping that all are okay. And we hope to get word from NASCAR and Speedway officials what they can give us as soon as possible on what's going on the racetrack now. Matter of fact, NASCAR President Mike Helton has just stepped into the booth and joined us here. And Mike, I know it's a very fluid situation and it's still ongoing, but we would sure like to know anything you can tell us at the moment.
Well, I think you've been able to see and explain what we know right now is that there obviously was some intrusion into the fence, and fortunately with the way the event's equipped up, there was plenty of emergency workers ready to go, and they all jumped in on it pretty quickly. And right now it's just a function of trying to determine what all damage is done. They're moving folks, as we've seen, to care centers and taking some folks over to Halifax Medical. So we'll be able to update later on. We're working real hard on determining what all happened.
Mike, we know that NASCAR and the tracks do everything they possibly can to make these events safe for the fans, but you just can't predict something like this. I mean, I don't want to use a perfect storm, but imperfect storm, something, all that it takes to make something like that happen. But really, the catch fence did its job for the most part there.
It did, and you're right. I mean, we know a lot, and we know what we know, but the biggest thing we know is we don't know everything we need to know, because there are moments that occur that we've just never seen before and can't really plan for, although everybody's effort is directed that way to make it as safe as possible for both competitors and for the fans. And that's evidenced everywhere we go with the wheel fences and the cables and the structures and the gaps between the racetrack and the seating area. But we're always made aware of the fact that we don't know everything.
And obviously work to be done tonight. There is a race tomorrow, though that's not utmost on your attention at this moment.
Well, there's still victory lane celebrations. There's still inspections to do on race cars, but there is a lot more activity. And fortunately, Daytona International Speedway and all the emergency crews here are prepared and ready for that, and they're very busy right now. And our prayers and thoughts are with everybody they're working on.
Mike, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. NASCAR President Mike Helton joining us here at Daytona. After the end of today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race, and again, a very fluid situation, the focus, as it should be, on the safety effort going on the grandstand side of the fence. After Kyle Larson's car was forced up into the grandstand, and pieces of that car pierced the fencing and ended up on the spectator side of the fence. At this moment, lacking any further information, we are going to leave the air live from here at Daytona and go to our regularly scheduled program. We ask you and invite you for further updates on the situation. Stay tuned to the ESPN family of networks, and we will continue to stay here and monitor the scene and bring you any updates and any further information from Speedway or NASCAR officials as soon as it's possible. So the situation at Daytona today, Tony Stewart has won, but the end of the event marred by a very serious crash.